You devils!
yelled Russbane in fury.
Give me that gun!
Slowly the pain began to ebb from Sylvester's midriff. "Ask a bit more nicely," said Viola in her best sweetness and light tones. Russbane's intake of breath was like a garden rake being pulled through gravel.
Please give me back that gun.
"No," said Viola.
I have another one,
said Captain Russbane. "Oh, no, you don't," said another voice, and this time it took Sylvester a few moments to recognize it. When he did, awareness flooded through him alongside his by now rapidly returning vision. Geopor, that treacherous ocelot has chosen this of all moments to strike against his skipper. The battle's won against the spectre of justice, but that doesn't mean the survivors won't be able to marshal the remains of their forces and launch some kind of ragged attack. This is the worst time for Russbane to be confronted by a mutiny. In an instant of cold clarity, Sylvester recognized within himself the odd truth that his sympathies lay with the pirate who'd been preparing so brutally to slay the Spectrum officers and who was planning to take Sylvester's own life. That his sympathies lay with Russbane rather than the mutineers. But there was absolutely nothing he could do about it, one way or the other. Drooling in fury, Captain Russbane looked first at Viola, then at Geopor, then at Viola once more.
You wouldn't be sending your old comrade to his doom, would you?
He said to Geopord, even as his eyes were still on the smaller foe. Behind Viola stood a very determined-looking Mrs. Pickleberry. In front of the two lemmings was a small black figure.
Rasco, how in the heck did you get here?
As if he had heard Sylvester's thought, the little mouse turned and winked at him.
We've spent a dozen years at sea,
the grey fox was saying.
Ever watching each other's back, haven't we, Geopord? Now just give me the gun.
I think not, Captain.
So you still call me Captain, do you varmint?
Just my little joke, replied Geopord oilily. Just my little joke.
A joke, is it? But I still am your captain, may the goddess darn it.
Not any longer, Russbane. Russbane growled, and Sylvester's spine froze. He'd never heard anything so frightening as that long, low sound. He glanced again across at Viola and the others and saw it had petrified them, too. Geopord, by contrast, seemed hardly fazed by it. The purloined pistol dipped momentarily in the air, but then was pointing steadily at Russbane's heart once more. That little dip was the only sign he had heard the threat.
Give me my gun. That's an order, Geopord.
We don't take our orders from you, Russbane, not any longer. Russbane sat down on the barrel from which Sylvester had launched his crazed leap.
So, this is mutiny, is it?
Geopord leered. I've heard it called that, yes.
Stabbed in the back by me own best pal, me Jack of Cops herself.
Russbane had begun to wheeze, as if the shock of the betrayal had aged him by many years. Sylvester, watching him, didn't trust this impression any more than he trusted anything else about the Grey Fox. Captain Russbane was putting on a performance, that was all. There were very few times when he wasn't putting on a performance. Oh, pass me an onion, someone, said Geopord.
Betrayed by my one true friend.
And a clean handkerchief.
Loved you like a brother I did.
That's not what you said when you had me flogged last year. Old Lumberbrains, handling the cat-o'-nine-tails, was prepared to stop when he'd got within an inch of my life. But you told him the Shade Blaze was going metric, so he should carry on until he got within a centimetre, you scum.
It was for your own good,
Russbane said, but even he didn't seem to believe his words. Just as this is for yours, countered Geopord with a sarcastic chuckle. Behind him, out of the remaining wisps of smoke, a gaggle of other pirates materialized, as if they'd been standing there the whole time, but had only now decided to let themselves be seen. "Bladderbulge," said Geoffrey, gesturing behind him with an indolent paw. "Truss up the cap'n here, the way you truss up one of those turkeys you burn."
"With pleasure, Geoffrey,"
said the cook, moving forward.
"Do I get to stick him in the oven afterwards?"
"I'm still thinking about that."
"You treacherous swine!"
Captain Rusbane burst out.
"You'll be sorry for this, mark my words."
"I'll mark 'em all right," said Geoffrey, visibly relaxing. Obviously, as Bladderbulge advanced upon the deposed skipper, the Ocelot felt he was now in complete command of the situation. "About 2 out of 10, I'd say."
"Ha!"
Captain Rusbane let rip with a string of nautical oaths. Mrs. Pickleberry blinked admiringly.
"Without me? Me, d'ye hear? Without me? You'd just be a rabble of rabid street curs waiting for death to come along and claim your miserable rotting hides. If it wasn't for me, you'd all have danced to the tune of Jack Ketch long ago, and be mouldering in your unmarked graves. I made something out of you, I did. I made you into pirates. Pirates who could be proud to hold their heads up high, unafraid to look awful like the Queen of Spectrum's pantalooned dandies in the eye."
He waved a paw towards the floating planks that were the sole relics of the spectre of justice, and to the lifeboats vanishing in the distance.
"Without me, you'd be nobodies. Not the fearsomest crew that's ever been a-sailing on the seas of Sagaria."
The grey fox paused for effect, wiping the back of his wrist across his lips. Bladderbulge was a statue behind him, the rope suspended between the fat pirate's paws. "Without me," Captain Rusbane continued, his voice hardly above a whisper, "you'll never find Captain Adamite's treasure. You'll go to your graves still trying to hunt it down." Murmurs spread through the thronged cutthroats. Rusbane's final remark had obviously struck home among some of them. Once more the direction of the pistol in Geoffrey's paw wavered. Once more the Ocelot almost immediately brought it back under control. "Don't listen to him," said the Ocelot. "Pay him no mind. You think he'd share the treasure with the likes of us if he ever did find it? Do you? Do you really?" Those words obviously hit their targets too.
"No, he'd never let us have so much as a sight of it, not Rusbane, he wouldn't,"
said someone. Another of the pirates began to laugh bitterly.
"Our bones would be bleached powder on the ocean bottom afore Terragon Rusbane gave us so much as a doubloon amongst us."
Geoffrey's eyes twinkled triumphantly. He had pulled the other pirates back on his side again. A word from him, and they'd have Rusbane swinging from the yardarm before the grey fox could so much as blink. Rusbane saw that too. He snarled,
"I'll have your head for this, you big moth-eaten pussycat."
"Perhaps," said Geoffrey with an infuriating smile. "But it's not going to be today, is it? Today, you're going to be taking a long walk off a short plank. Besides, it's the lemming who knows where the treasure is, isn't it? Not you. Finish tying him up, will you, Bladderbulge? Get a move on, man!"